All right, welcome. Today, we're going to dive into a story that takes one of the most normal things in life, a simple birthday party, and twists it into an absolute masterclass in psychological horror. Seriously. So, what does make a birthday party terrifying? Well, it sounds like a weird question, right? But the answer is anything but simple. We're going to break down exactly how a quiet little celebration becomes this stage for pure menace, manipulation, and yeah, the complete and total breakdown of a man's identity. So our story kicks off in just about the most unassuming place you can imagine. We're talking a quiet, kind of rundown seaside boarding house. It's run by this couple, Meg and Petey, and it's the kind of place where every day is pretty much the same. Nothing is ever supposed to happen here. And this is where we meet our main guy, Stanley Weber. He's this anxious, super withdrawn man who lives there. And you get the feeling right away that he's hiding from something, or maybe someone from his past. And just like that, Stanley's quiet, repetitive little life is completely shattered. Why? Because two total strangers, these guys named Goldberg and McCann, they just arrive out of the blue. And their presence, it instantly changes the entire atmosphere. The dread, it just starts to build. So what starts out as this seemingly harmless birthday party that Meg, the landlady, insists on throwing for Stanley, it quickly descends into this incredibly disturbing, chaotic mess. This is the whole point. A totally normal setup becomes the foundation for this deep, unsettling feeling of unease. But you have to wonder, how does something so simple get so terrifying? Well, to really get it, we need to look at the mind behind all this menace, the playwright himself, Harold Pinter. Okay, so who was Harold Pinter? Well, let me tell you, this guy was not just any playwright. We're talking about a Nobel Prize winner who completely revolutionized modern drama. He wasn't interested in huge, epic stories. No, for him, the real terror was in the small, everyday moments. The hidden power struggles that play out over a cup of tea in some quiet little room. His style was so unique, so filled with a specific kind of tension, that it actually got its own adjective, Pinteresque. Right, so Pinter didn't need ghosts or jump scares to freak you out. Not at all. He had this very specific blueprint for creating fear, and it was all about using language, silence, and even the room itself to build this suffocating atmosphere of dread. He basically pioneered a genre that got called the comedy of menace. And it works like this. It starts with a situation that's pretty normal, maybe even a little funny. You might find yourself laughing at how odd the characters are. But then, slowly, this undercurrent of danger just creeps in. The humor starts to feel off. It sours. And you realize, wait a minute, something is terribly wrong here. It's like he weaponizes normalcy against you. Now, it's really important to draw a line between what Pinter was doing and something like the theater of the absurd. You see, absurdist plays often kind of suggest the whole universe is meaningless and chaotic. But Pinter, he's much more focused. For him, the menace isn't some big cosmic thing. Nope, it's right there, in the room, in the hidden power games people play. His characters aren't lost in the universe. They are psychologically trapped by each other. And his number one weapon? You might be surprised. It was the pause and silence. In a Pinter play, believe me, what isn't being said is often way more terrifying than what is. A pause isn't just a gap. It's thick with tension. It's someone avoiding a question. And the silence? Oh, the silence. That's where the real fear and suspicion and all the unspoken threats live. And Pinter himself summed it up perfectly with this quote. His whole vision was basically this: trap some people in a room, give them dialogue you can't predict, and then just watch the psychological fireworks. That enclosed space becomes a total pressure cooker for human conflict. Okay, so now that we've got Pinter's toolkit, let's go back to the story. We're going to apply these ideas and really decode how he builds that signature terrifying sense of menace. The absolute heart of this is the interrogation scene. This is key. Goldberg and McCann, they don't lay a finger on Stanley. Instead, they just unleash this relentless barrage of questions. But the questions are nonsensical, they're contradictory. This isn't about getting answers, no way. It's a full-on psychological assault. They're literally using language as a weapon to dismantle Stanley's sense of self, shattering his identity piece by piece until there is absolutely nothing left. But it's not just the dialogue. Pinter, and later the director William Friedkin, who adapted it for film, they understood something crucial. Terror can also be found in the most mundane things. They take simple, everyday objects and just load them up with this terrifying symbolic weight.
Let's take the toy drum, for example. Meg gives it to Stanley as his birthday present. Just a simple, innocent gift, right?
Well, this is where the genius comes in, because Pinter completely twists that innocence. At first, the drum is a symbol of childhood, right? But as Stanley's mind just unravels, his drumming becomes frantic, aggressive, totally erratic. What started as an object of joy becomes this haunting symbol of his complete psychological collapse. Okay, another perfect example, the newspaper. I mean, it's just something you'd find on any breakfast table. But think about what a newspaper represents. It's information, it's order, it's truth. So when McCann just violently tears it into these perfect, neat little strips, it's a deeply symbolic act. It's not just ripping paper, it's the deliberate destruction of truth. It's a stunning visual metaphor for how authoritarian forces control people by suppressing and manipulating information. Now, let's talk about the 1968 film adaptation, because this psychological trap becomes even more potent on screen. The director, William Friedkin, yes, the guy who later did The Exorcist, uses the language of cinema to make that feeling of confinement absolutely inescapable. Think about it. On stage, the boarding house is, well, a set. But in the film, it becomes this claustrophobic prison, all narrow hallways and dim, shadowy lighting. The camera gets right in there, pushing in for these really unsettling close-ups that force you to look at the fear in Stanley's eyes. And Friedkin uses these high-angle shots, looking down on Stanley, making him look small and totally vulnerable. The camera isn't just recording the action, it's actively helping to trap him. So by the end of it all, Stanley is just broken. He's cleaned up, put in a suit, but he can't even speak anymore. He's just taken away. And the most frustrating part? We never find out exactly why. But that ambiguity, that's the whole point. It forces us, the audience, to ask, what does all of this really mean? And really, here's the big takeaway. The birthday party isn't just about one guy. It's this powerful allegory. Stanley represents the individual. Maybe he's an artist, a nonconformist, someone who has tried to step outside of the system. And Goldberg and McCann? They are the system. They're the agents of social control who show up to drag him back into line. His struggle is absolutely timeless, you know? It echoes characters like Joseph K. and Kafka's The Trial or Winston Smith in 1984. And all of that leaves us with one last, really chilling question. The play isn't just Stanley's story, it's a warning. It's a warning about the forces out there that demand we all conform, and the subtle, terrifying ways they can break down anyone who dares to resist. So it asks us to think, what happens when that knock comes to our door?